All right. Might have to do this a couple times. We'll see. Hey, everybody. We are doing a crossover episode at Rails World Day 2. This is Jeremy and Jess from Indie Rails, Drew Bragg from Code and the Coding Coders Who Code It, Adrian and Yarrow from The Friendly Show. Hey, guys.
Hey.
Hey, what's up, everybody?
Hey.
Nice to be here.
So I guess let's talk about Rails World. How's it going this year?
Well, authentication is coming in Rails 8, so we should all be very excited that we now have a complete framework.
I think I know one guy who's very happy about that.
I heard Jason scream in the background.
Oh, he stood up. He stood up in the audience, right?
Yeah, he's pumped. He's very excited.
Great energy otherwise. Like,
Oh, yeah.
everybody's like so super pumped about it.
Yeah.
You know, there are people that haven't been to the first Rails World in Amsterdam, and they, you can't capture this energy through photos or videos.
Yeah.
You have to come here, and everyone's like, "Oh my God, this is a freaking festival! This is
Yeah.
amazing! I love Rails."
Well, talking of photos of videos, I'm at least trying to do it, like making videos of walking around the space, posting them so that people that cannot visit have at least a chance to experience it a bit.
Yeah. When you first started doing that, you had your phone out, like walking around. I wasn't sure what you were doing, and then I realized, okay, he's making videos. Okay.
Yeah, the energy here is amazing. I think you hit the nail on the head when you were like, it's sort of like a festival. Like, it feels a lot more like a big party than it does a conference.
Yeah, for sure. We
Yeah.
should give some context. We're
Yeah.
in day 2.
Yeah,
And
day
so
2.
this is Friday, and we just got through day 1. So what are your first thoughts?
Day 1 was awesome. It was a lot just because there's a lot of people here, and I was actually trying to go to talks this time, and every time I would try and go to a talk, I'd make it like 5 feet and see someone else I wanted
Yeah.
to talk to.
Yeah,
Another
same.
5 feet, someone else I wanted to talk to. I made it to one. I made it to DHH's keynote and Justin Searles' talk, and I missed every other talk I wanted to go to because I was just too busy
Yep.
talking to people.
I'm usually pretty strict. I'm like, okay, I got to go to the talk. I want to hear the talk.
Yeah.
And I haven't made it to that many either.
Yeah.
I mean, the hallway track is still a good track to be on, and you will still
Yep.
be able to watch all the talks online.
That's
and,
true.
You should use the opportunity to meet the people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've been catching up with people that have attended the talk, and they're telling me what happened, and I'm picking
Yeah.
their brains on it.
Yeah. I am sad that I missed Justin's talk because he said, I guess this is his last talk.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
That's what he said.
No
That's what
way.
he said.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's been doing it a long time. I always go to his talks. He puts a lot of time and effort, so I understand I need to step back from doing this because there's so much time and effort that goes into it. But I really enjoy his talks because he puts such care and time into his talks. Are always so good.
Yeah.
He's so creative and the examples and the things that he uses.
Yeah.
And I believe him. He got a little choked up when he
Yeah,
was talking
yeah,
about
he
it.
did.
Huh. Man.
Yeah.
And Drew, you mentioned that it feels like a festival, and I would like to say that it feels like a celebration of
Yep.
where we are in the Rails community.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Big celebration. And that's the cool thing, I think, the idea of we're going to have this conference, quote unquote, around the same time that we release the new version of Rails so that, we're celebrating, in this case, we're celebrating Rails 8 coming out. And that's such a cool, vibe and way to handle this because you get that party atmosphere.
So this is a cool conference when all the PHP folks come as well.
Yeah, that's right.
Because we have Taylor Otwell here, we have Caleb Porgio, we have Adam Wadman, Jonathan Raining, amazing freaking folks, and they stepped by to see what we're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty cool that they honor us really by coming here and
Yeah.
visiting, hanging out with us, and seeing what it's all about.
Yeah, it's super cool that we can have that level of crossover where it's Laravel isn't competing with Rails. It exists because of Rails, but is now also its own thing. It's almost sort of like a fork, but PHP, so not. But it's just so cool to see two projects like that have just similar visions but different approaches to doing it.
Yeah.
And then seeing them be able to hang out with one another and collab and just be really cool people to hang out with.
I think Taylor hit the nail on the head with his tweet yesterday where he said that he's at Rails World and, he said Rails 8 just ship and that's it. This is both the frameworks' visions. Like both frameworks have the same vision about shipping fast, having everything included, about moving fast and bringing value, and then you can scale, you can do whatever else later, but you can do a Rails new or Laravel new or whatever and just move incredibly fast.
Yeah, very fast. The MVC pattern, especially when you're following it, so good.
I want to go back to, we're talking about celebrating Rails 8, but I feel like we're also still celebrating the Rails organization and like all the improvements that it's making in the community.
Yeah.
And it's like last year was its kind of first year, and this year it just feels like it's picking up even more steam, doing more things, like finding its groove.
Yeah.
And that's been a celebration too.
Yeah, the docs work has been, like Amanda said this yesterday morning, I guess, that the docs were overdue for a redesign and a rewrite.
Yeah.
So it's nice to see that finally happening, and I think they're doing a great job with it from what I've seen so far.
Yeah, we were talking to Boomy, who was working on that yesterday. I was talking to her, and then I'm still trying to meet. I wanted to meet John, the guy behind all the design work. I think he's here. But I haven't seen him yet. Okay. Yeah.
Talking of new releases, what are you guys most excited about?
I mean, authentication. Did we not already talk about this? Authentication. Authentication is coming to Rails. It's so exciting.
I do like the generator approach to that.
Yeah,
That it's like,
big.
I think that is an underused tool, like generating. We've always had scaffolding, but even scaffolding is like feels kind of stale. But this kind of generation, like this is kind of code that you want to own. It's probably not library code, but using generators for that, I think makes a lot of sense. So I like that.
No, I love Devise. I've used it in a ton of projects, but it is one of those, the moment you start breaking from how Devise does things, it sort of becomes a bigger pain in the butt than it's worth. So the generator approach where it's like, we'll give you everything, and if you need to modify it, here are the files.
Right. Because you end up doing that with the Devise anyway. You end up like ejecting all the controllers and views, like so you can modify them yourself. But it's a little more complicated. So yeah.
Well, I'm most excited about Hotwire Native.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw
Something
that.
that wasn't even mentioned until now. But
Okay.
I think somebody is.
Yeah, I'm doing a lightning talk about Hotwire Native today.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
There's no big stage talk about it. I think Jay Ohms and Joe Mazzotti couldn't make it, but I'm going to be at the kids' table
Oh, nice.
doing the small talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah, it would make sense, I guess, if Joe was here like that. Maybe he would do that, but I think he's probably still on parental leave or something like that. Like, he said he was taking time off or whatever, so it makes sense.
He's a busy man.
Yeah, well deserved time.
Absolutely.
I read the landing page for it. It was cool to see them give him that shout out.
Yeah,
and
yeah, I'm happy about that. Yeah, it's well deserved.
But I think the solid trifecta too is really cool. Just the approach. I'm very excited to leave here and spin up a Rails 8 app and try all those things out. So I think it's really cool. I know the deployment stuff was like the focus of the keynote, but I'm still pretty interested in all the solid things.
Yeah, I'm probably more interested in the solid stuff. I was surprised a couple weeks ago to see solid cable. It wasn't new to me here, but just a couple weeks ago, like, where did this come from? I did not expect that. It was just that was a total surprise.
Apparently, it was so DHH could get his presentation.
Yeah, I mean, you just need that one little piece, that one little puzzle piece, like put in. Yeah.
I think there's one more Redis puzzle piece, and that's Credis.
Yeah.
I think it won't take long until we find an adapter to fix that as well.
Yeah. Huh. I still like Redis. I guess I'm not like ready to get rid of it, but yeah, I'm curious. Keep watching. I'm not a new. I don't know. Like not a new tech guy. Like I like boring stuff, and I'm a late adopter on so many things, which is weird being in software and doing that. But I don't know.
Talking of deployment and late adoption, have you guys already tried Kamal?
Have not.
I just want to take a moment to thank our sponsor, Honey Badger. Do you want higher clarity in production, but don't have time to earn a PhD in observability? Forget logs, metrics, and traces. Honeybadger Insight is built around structured events. When you send your application logs and other events to Honeybadger, you'll unlock the power of Honeybadger's new querying language, BadgerQL. Use BadgerQL to answer any question about your data, convert any event into a metric, and chart your metrics on custom dashboards. You can do all of this on Honeybadger's free plan as part of their comprehensive monitoring suite, which includes error tracking, uptime monitoring, status pages, and more. Speaking of error tracking, did you know that an error is really just a first-class event in Honeybadger? In fact, you can use Insights and BadgerQL to explore all of your existing Honeybadger data in new ways. It's pretty cool. Give it a try today at honeybadger.io. That's honeybadger.io, and thank you, Honeybadger, for your continued support of the show.
Don't miss Capistrano. I used it for years. I don't miss running my own VPSs. I'm still a Heroku guy. I still love it. I don't know. I do agree. DHH was saying, like, it's expensive. It is. Like, we should get more compute for what we're paying, but I don't want to go back to Capistrano.
I'm on Hatchbox, and I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Hatchbox is awesome.
Yeah,
I got it.
It's made for
Hatchbox.
Rails. Yeah, it's awesome.
Well, for me, the wonderful thing about Heroku was letting new people who just want to create their first Rails app, create a Heroku account and deploy their first Rails application to production in a few minutes. It's like the perfect demonstration of like creating a new application, creating a table and pushing it to the world. But now Heroku doesn't have the free tiers anymore, so that's a pity.
This is okay. I've had this idea. I really wish. Okay, I think DHH was saying yesterday, like, we need the on-ramp on the floor for onboarding new people into Rails and new developers, brand new developers coming to Rails. I still think there's a bunch that could be done. It's not on the floor yet. It's not on the floor.
No.
There's still
It's very close.
It's
very close.
It's getting there, but I wouldn't say Kamal is like an easy tool to pick up for beginners. I wish there was something like Playground, like for people that are doing let's say you want to run a Rails hackathon or do like a Rails weekend where people are learning and want to spin up a real app in production. I wish there was a way to do that really, really simply that was sort of official, and that you could like test out Rails in production and know it was like sort of official from the Rails site. You go there, you're like, oh, I want to do this, and then you wouldn't have to drop down to command line tools. You could actually like spin something up, and then push a repo or whatever and connect a repo and have it up.
I mean, I think every release we get we lower the floor a little bit, right? Like every Rails release that comes out, we're just making it a little bit easier for beginners a little bit. And like, even like the first Kamal, that's cool. It super helps. And then, but it's like, oh, if you want to do SSL, like you're probably running through a proxy or a load balancer or something, kind of doing some weird stuff. Kamal 2 takes care of that. So now SSL with Let's Encrypt out of the box. That's awesome. So I think as they iterate on Kamal and the next versions of Rails, I think we'll get closer to what you're talking about. Because I agree with you, and I would imagine that there's a lot of people that share that sentiment.
Yeah. I also think like this kind of this test environment or like playground environment that I imagine could also work really well with SQLite. Like, the fact that you've got all the solid libraries, and then if you use SQLite only for it, you could kind of create that place where people could get to production with like toy apps really easily, really cheaply. I don't know. That's something I wish we had.
I can just imagine DevOps people, rolling their eyes when they hear about, there's a playground where anybody can just deploy an app and we can just play around. Like, oh my God, there's security issues, there's like scaling issues, there's like a...
Yeah.
But that would be cool for like a hackathon thing.
Yeah.
Just, you get access and Git push it.
I think that's a place that people will come into the community, or could come into the community, be like, oh yeah, there's a weekend thing, we're going to build Rails apps and launch them. Like, a lot of times it doesn't need to be, like, you start with things that are toys, and then toys eventually become real tools. Like,
That was the Heroku free plan,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Exactly, and that is what is missing
Yep.
now.
Yeah.
It was the thing that was helping onboard new Rails people into production apps, and it's not enough to have it running locally. You don't get the magic until it's in
Right,
prod.
right. Yeah, I mean that's how my boot camp did it. Was we just spun up Heroku accounts. We learned a little bit about Heroku just so we could troubleshoot our own stuff.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it was just like, here's a free plan, and all you have to do is and it goes, and like that's sorely missed in the community.
And I don't fault Heroku for that. Like, it makes sense why they would do that, but there's a gap now.
Yeah, they left a hole.
Who do we know at Heroku?
I do have a friend there.
Let's get him on a call.
Yeah, that's right.
One thing I'm actually really excited about, because I've been excited about this for years, and it becoming a default in Rails 8, and I'm a little bummed that it didn't get mentioned in the keynote, but there was a talk about it, is PWA support by default. Like, it's not that complicated. You can add the files to your Rails app right now, but like, it out of the box. I've been a big fan of PWAs for years, and just seeing them grow and become better, and it's like, yes, there is definitely a future where like you do not need to have a native app if you have a good web app.
Yeah.
I'm pumped for that.
Talking about PWAs, during the Rails World Conference, there is a PWA with the schedule of the event and a separate PWA that is a campfire instance for the event. And I think it's a great first step for all the Rails developers that have not used PWAs to be like guided to try it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that they open source the conference app too, so people can see all of that. They use the app. They're like, hey, that worked really well, and then they can just go look at the source code and see it's not that scary or complicated. There's a lot going on. Service workers. There's definitely not a ground floor entry to service workers, but like it's not overly complex.
Yeah.
And you get a lot of really cool stuff with some simple service workers.
Yeah,
And
that's cool.
Amanda was calling for other conferences to use it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that too. It's not just open source so you can learn from it, but like, hey, if you're running a small conference, like a 2-day, like Rocky Mountain Ruby's a 2-day conference, it's a single track, but still, like, hey, you've got an app now. That's awesome.
Yep.
Yeah.
It won't hurt to use it, right?
No, not at all.
Talking of deployment, it's also interesting how Laravel and Rails went two completely separate paths.
Different
like
ways.
Laravel Cloud and Kamal.
And the no pass. Yeah, I did feel a little awkward in the keynote for Taylor.
It's all part of the big tent. Like, I mean, there's going to be people that think that the cloud is here to stay. That's the way to go. That's how we want to do it.
Yeah.
And that's fine. If you want to use Kamal, if you want to use something completely, I still think Hatchbox is
Awesome.
boss. But there's so many, and I like that we are deliberately trying to get everybody into this tent of like, it sort of doesn't matter how you want to do it. Here are all of the tools, and Rails has always historically made it really easy to just like, you don't want to do it this way? Cool. Here's an easy way to swap it in and out. Like, it's easier if you stick to the Rails way for sure, especially during upgrade time. But like, it's nice that we can do it whatever flavor that suits you best.
Yeah.
It's all about the requirements. Sometimes you just want to move fast. Hatchbox is going to be good. Sometimes you need scale. Then you go, full to AWS and whatever. Sometimes you want to hack around. Kamal is your friend. You have like one hobby server. So whatever you need, you have options, which is awesome.
I think the first time I really considered this seriously was hearing Nadia Odunayu talk about like, okay, she's building a B2C like consumer app. And they needed to leave Heroku. The cost, just like, it was cost prohibitive for them to stay on Heroku, given that it was like, B2C. Like B2B, it makes sense to stay on Heroku a lot of times, but small team B2C, the margins are so small, like it made sense to move to AWS.
Especially if you have a freemium model.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so this is where like starts to actually make sense to me. That's when I maybe look that way, and I just haven't worked on many apps like that, but that helped me see like there is like a real need for people to be able to do that.
Yeah, I was blown away by her keynote at
Yeah.
RailsConf when she went through and she actually showed the numbers and graphs of
Right.
like, here we were on Heroku and we were in trouble and we moved to Cloud
Cloud
66.
It was oh, that's right.
And,
Cloud 66, yeah.
and then she showed the graph afterwards. I was like, holy, like,
Yeah.
there's a little bit more work involved. It's not as seamless as a Heroku deploy, but that was a big jump in numbers.
It's the difference between her being able to make a business work and not.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, yeah, makes perfect sense. You need to do that.
So Rails 8.1 is supposed to release the action notifier, and I suppose it might also make the work with service workers and with the sending notifications easier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good point.
Yeah, and is 8.1 where we're getting search too? Active record search?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That was a total surprise. Like
that was very
Where
surprising.
did this come from? That was
They've been trying to solve some problems at Hey.
Apparently,
is how that,
yeah,
is how that came about, because their search was really bad in the beginning, and it has gotten better. And I'm guessing that's the extraction, because the search has gotten a lot better.
I was in the
recently.
way back. Did anyone see like some of the code samples? Like, did it look like it was active record models
Yeah,
that are
yeah.
doing the indexing? You're indexed.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep,
Okay.
exactly. Yeah.
It's active record all the way down.
Yeah.
And then you just kind of define your search parameters in your model, which is super cool.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that's going to be awesome.
And how is this different than like a PG search, do we think?
It's probably going to be in a similar, it's a similar thing, like a PG search or a ransack, or it's going to build your queries for you. I don't think it's Elasticsearch is like a different like kind of service they built just for search. It's going to be in the database, I think.
But it's creating an index, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think it's terribly different than like a PG search, but like if you're on MySQL or if you're using SQLite, you don't have PG search.
Right. Yeah.
So the whole like active record supports all of these things on the back end. So when you use active record, it allows you to have anything on your back end. You use PG search, you're using Postgres no matter what.
Yeah.
Not that I think there's many people like, oh, we're going to use Postgres this week. Next week we'll use MySQL. But like it allows for that, which I think is cool.
No, that is nice.
I'm somehow more. I'm looking forward to 8.1
Yeah.
more than 8.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because we kind of have 8 right now. So
Yeah, we do have 8. Yeah, I think maybe, as you get closer to a release, you kind of hear like, oh, this is coming out, this is coming out, this is coming out. And then you get the big show, and it's like, yay. But then the 8.1 was like, no one knew anything. That's the new shiny shit
Right,
now.
right.
I'm looking forward to 9.
Yeah. I'm most excited about the action text for Markdown.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm
Markdown support.
I love Markdown. I don't know how their Markdown editor will be, but what I'm most interested in is the action text like embeds.
yeah.
Like that's the thing I want extracted from the WYSIWYG, so that I can use it with anything. Because I'm doing like an app right now where I've got a Markdown editor, but I want to be able to do drag and drop file uploads, but not just have a URL. I want to be able to do rich embeddings, but with Markdown, and have some kind of pre-processing to render those.
So yeah, with Markdown, you can go a little bit wild because the Markdown spec doesn't really. I mean, they have the image kind of parentheses and stuff, but like if you check out what GitHub is doing with their alerts, that's different from what like VidPress is doing with their alerts. Like it's a different kind of markup inside, so you can go a little bit wild.
Yeah.
So I think one good point here would be, is this new editor or like the active action text adapter, would it support adding these embeddings? Would it support these?
I'm hoping.
Because we don't want like tricks. It's a little bit difficult to add things to tricks.
Yeah.
So but you want to add these ones to Markdown.
Yeah.
That would be nice if we don't just get a new Markdown mode or Markdown capability, but we also get a better, I don't want to call it a full-blown plugin API,
system, yeah.
but just something a little bit easier to extend. Like it's not that hard to extend tricks, but it's complex enough, right? It's not hard, but it's complex. So let's lower the complexity level a little bit. That'd be nice.
Compress the complexity.
I like what David said yesterday when he was saying, the problem's not finished when you've solved the problem.
Yeah.
It's finished when you've made it simple.
Yep.
And I think if we
Hard
keep
agree.
shooting for that on all these problems, then we're just going to keep getting better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, the main takeaway, the main spirit from the keynote of David was challenge the status quo.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to challenge it.
That is not me. I am like I'm fine.
I'm
Like,
fine with my status quo, right?
well, I guess I think it's interesting. Like you need all types of people. I don't tend to think of things that way. A lot of times, like accept what is, and then find your own workarounds is my like default mode. I don't think about like how do I change the world to like fit and suit like my mentality or whatever. But it's interesting to like we need everything. We need all types of people. Like you need people like that make new things happen.
Yep.
You need the early adopters that like iron out all the things, and you need the people that live on like keeping things stable or whatever.
Yep.
I don't know if I'm in that camp or not, but it sounds boring. But
Yeah, for example, I don't want to touch a server. Like I'm that pink elephant when it comes to servers. Even like authentication. Like I don't even want to touch that. I want smarter people to take care of everything, right? But I'm glad that we have that option. That somebody can go in and tinker with it.
Yeah, early on in my career, the place I worked, we did a lot of like on the metal server, like deploying with Capistrano, any kind of server issue, I'd SSH in and like have to know my Linux commands. And it isn't that complicated. Like, you don't have to be that pink elephant, but also like that's not what I want to do. I don't want to be like a system admin.
I don't want to have to go back to a server closet. I've spent plenty of time in a server closet. I don't need to spend anymore. I don't want to do that. That's not what I want to do.
I want to write Ruby code. So like as much as I think Kamal is great and it's going to be, as it gets better, it's going to be even more helpful for people who are like, I can just download Rails. I'm up and running with all the solid stuff, and Kamal just deploys it for me. That's awesome. I'll probably stick to something that does the deployments for me because that's just not what I want to do.
Yeah.
You don't want that to be your problem.
100%, because there's always a problem. It's always DNS.
If you have a framework that's truly going to be a one-person framework, then you got to have options like that.
Yes.
Because
particularly for that
you can't
B2C.
do it all.
Yeah.
But if you want to do it, you can.
Yeah.
And maybe it's not that hard, but everybody has different preferences
Yeah.
and different strengths and weaknesses. So it's nice to have the plugins and the third-party resources to fill those gaps.
Yeah, it's not just what you're using Rails for right now. It's all the things that you could. So all the types of problems that you could solve with it. I think that's one of the reasons I keep, I still keep doing Rails. Is like I know that I can solve not just the problems I have for clients right now, but like there's like a plethora of options like for any other kinds of things I might hit.
Well, I'm excited for day 2. I'm probably going to get stuck in the hallway track a little bit again, but there's definitely some really cool talks today that I'm hoping to make. Anybody have anything on their list that's like, I can't miss this one?
The keynote which we're missing.
This morning I was like, I love Eileen's talks because she's so, especially when she gets into like talking about lowering the barrier of entry to open source and like we need people contributing and knowing they can. She gets so fired up and passionate. I'm like, I can't wait for her keynote. Whoops, that started 15 minutes ago. My bad.
By the way, one of the most exciting things for me on the schedule was the fireside chat between DHH, Toby, and Mats.
Yeah.
How did you like it, guys?
I missed it.
I'm going to have to catch it on the recording as well.
I caught bits and pieces, but the thing that really stood out to me is and that's another thing about just coming to Rails world that you just can never get, is that you have Matt's, DHH, and Toby up on the stage, and you just don't get a chance to see the people that you look up to or that have like paved these paths that have made all this possible for us, and that's just really cool. And it's really cool to see them talk about it, and like I got a chance to meet Matt's the other night, and that was a highlight.
Yeah, that's awesome. I can't wait to meet him.
To me, it felt like you've been watching a movie series for many seasons, and this is like the satisfying conclusion.
Yes.
Yeah, it's not over. It's not a conclusion.
Yaro, it's not over.
This season.
Rails 7 season is over. Rails 8 season is just
It was a wonderful season finale.
Yes.
There you go.
Yeah.
I am definitely most excited for the Shopify closing party at Shopify headquarters.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just jazzed.
Oh, it's at their headquarters?
At headquarters. Yeah.
Nice.
Here in Toronto. It's gonna
Okay.
It's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, looking forward to that as well.
Yeah.
I hope I don't have to walk anymore. We went to a party last night, and we sort of walked halfway, I guess. I'm breaking in new shoes, and my feet are like, oh my gosh.
Not a good place to break in new shoes. 'Cause
No.
it's a lot of walking.
Yeah, that's a tip. That's a conference tip right there. Don't break in new shoes. at
Actually,
conference.
bicycle rentals are really good in Toronto. I downloaded the app, created the account in 2 minutes, and took a bicycle to get to the event venue.
Somebody said they saw you on a bike. I'm trying to remember who it was.
So see, if the bicycle rental, instead of having an app, it was like a PWA or Rails, it would have been easier. Like lower barrier of entry, everybody would use a bike.
Yeah, I mean,
the
my
end.
data roaming is expensive. I paid for that app.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Well, let's go see what how much of Eileen's keynote we can catch, and maybe we'll do another one of these later today.
Sweet.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Really enjoyed it.
Thanks for having us.